Yesterday was Mother's Day. And the older that I get and the longer that I've been a mother, the more I realize that motherhood is really just the continual act of laying your life down over and over and over again. And I don't even mean that in a sad way. The sheer fact of becoming a mother puts your life at risk. And I mean this in the most noble way possible, because that is exactly what Christ did for us. He poured himself out. He gave his life willingly and sacrificially. And I think motherhood mirrors that in so many ways, because you're constantly giving. You're giving your body, your energy, your sleep, your time, your emotions, your every thought. You wake up every single day asking yourself who needs what from you and when. And I think one of the hardest parts, the most difficult parts about motherhood is that so much of it happens in the unseen. In John 15, verse 13, I love this verse. It says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends, let alone for your child." And interestingly, there is no applause for the daily pouring out. There was no applause for Jesus on the cross. There's no standing ovation for constantly showing up each and every day, even and especially when it's hard. There's no reward ceremony for making dinner or praying over your children in those quiet moments or staying patient when you are exhausted. It is just sacrifice again and again and again. And yet somehow in that sacrifice, there's purpose. And it's evident because much of the time when you take time away from motherhood, the sacrifice is still on your mind and your mind is still with your children. But I think one of the dangers, the great dangers of motherhood, is that if we are not careful, we can pour out so much that we forget that we need to be filled too. Regardless of how supportive your spouse is and how much weight they carry too, I have learned that your children nor your spouse can be the thing that actually fills you. In Isaiah 40, verse 31, it says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles." Hope in the Lord, not your husband, not your children. Validation cannot be the thing that fills you from this earth, because people are human. Your family is human. Your children are human. Marriage is human. And that humanity cannot fill the God-sized hole in each of us. And if you are only pouring out without allowing the Holy Spirit to refill you, eventually you will become depleted. And I believe that is why Jesus constantly withdrew to pray. Even Jesus, the Son of God, still made time to be refilled by the Father. And as mothers, we sometimes feel guilty for needing that, for needing quiet, for needing prayer, for needing rest. But being filled spiritually, especially spiritually, is what allows us to become the loving people and what helps us love well without resentment, because resentment is an ugly thing that creeps up without notice and will have you blind to the blessing of the gift that it is to be a mother. And so this week I've been thinking about mothers in the Bible, women like Hannah, who prayed desperately for a child. Then once God answered her prayer, she gave Samuel back to the Lord. I cannot imagine. Can you imagine that kind of surrender? To pray so deeply for something and then trust God enough to release it. And then I think about Mary, a mother who knew from the very beginning that her calling would involve suffering. She carried Jesus into the world knowing that one day she would also watch him suffer for it. And I think motherhood is constantly holding those two tensions. We are holding for a time, for such a time as this, a gift that we eventually have to release back to the world. And every day we show up wrapped in love, in sacrifice, and in joy, holding tightly, but releasing all the same. And perhaps that's why mothers are so powerful, because there is something about motherhood that teaches you how to die to yourself daily while still choosing love. And honestly, becoming a mother exposed personally every selfish part of me. It exposed my impatience, my pride. Wow, that was a hard one. My need for self-control, my exhaustion, my fears, and the fears were great. But it also revealed a capacity to love that I didn't know existed. And I think motherhood has made me understand the heart of God more than almost anything else. Because when you love a child, you understand how deeply you want to protect them. You want to guide them. You are going to forgive them every time. You want to fight for them. And then you realize that is how God feels about us, about each one of us. And maybe that's the lesson that we should all be learning in this season, that motherhood isn't just about raising children. It's about allowing God to use the daily pouring out to shape you into something more compassionate, more patient, more selfless, and more dependent on Him. Because at the end of the day, you cannot pour out from an empty cup. And you were never meant to. That's the thing. You were never meant to do this on your own. And so to every mother who feels exhausted, unseen, unsure, overextended, or like you are constantly laying your life down, God sees every single unseen sacrifice. None of it is wasted. And may we remember that even as we pour out, and we pour out with such grace, we still need to sit at the feet of Jesus and be filled again. Happy Mother's Day. And until next time, let's love more, and we'll see you at the next PSA. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I hope this message reminded you that we cannot pour from an empty cup and we should always lean on Him. We have an entire playlist of messages just like this from Felix and I. Definitely give them a listen, share them with the first person that comes to mind, and we'll see you next week.
Remember to call your mother.
Call your mom.